The young must know it. The old must know it.
Flip the track, I'll flip the raps, flip the track, I'll flip the raps, flip the track, I'll flip the raps, flip the track.
Just a lyrical paragraph, your tracks make me laugh. In front of the microphone, you didn't pass math. Failed all the lessons, wanna remain in the top 10. Stop, look, and listen, give props to the light skin. Knowledge is the key to be the best of a black man. Wisdom understands the ways of a Dutchland. Devilish attitudes that really make me rude. It's Friday the 13th, you're all fucking doomed. It's Jason and Michael Myers and Freddy all combined. You say we're the savages, but look who eats swine. The pig, there's only one vein in the body. I'm at the hot vodka and I want me a Swanee. Bring them along, I hear a bell, what the hell? I'm torturing the MCs, they promise not to tell. Oh, sing them a song, I wanna rock about the babies. It won't be long until you're pushing up days. Check it out.
That you never heard before.
Hello everyone and welcome to another exciting match of Jet Set Radio Future Bingo. If it's your first time with us, here's what's about to happen. Two teams are about to race through the three boroughs of Tokyo in order to complete bingo board objectives. For every soul and character unlock they complete, they'll receive a point, and if they work together and complete 100% of graffiti in an area, they'll receive 3. And if a team works together and collects 5 squares in a row, they'll receive a coveted bingo and an additional 2 points. But they better watch their backs out there, because the streets take no prisoners, and each square can only be claimed by one team, and you don't want to be the team that gets sniped to a square. Oh, and one more thing. Teams will be playing with the co-op mod, which means tape pickups, challenge completions, and graffiti sprayed will be shared between both players. Good luck everyone, it's time to play Jet Set Radio Future Bingo! Hello everyone and welcome to the first match of round 4 while still being in week 3. Hot off the heels, we have two teams ready to go head to head to decide who is going to get one step closer to the finals. Our first team today consists of two titans of their respective 80% categories ready to tunnel their way to victory. It's Yomsu and Bane from Team BunDig. And going up against them today we have a team featuring Modder Extraordinaire and a player who totally hasn't rigged today's match with their board generator. We have 7th Ace and Kev360 from Team Blazor Stans. And joining me in the commentators box today, we have someone that thinks that in 3026 years, life will be either really good or really bad. It's 50-50, it's Eclapricious.
Thank you, Ace Bats. Welcome back to JSRF Bingo for our match between the Blazor Stans, that team, and BunDig.
They wear blazers because Kev's in school.
For some reason, the colours are swapped on the display, which is very funny to me. That's fine.
Identity theft.
I'm very confused right now. Not a problem. We'll work with it. Anyway, it is 7th Base and Kev360 versus Yomsa and Vane. And these are some players who've been putting a lot of time and effort into practicing bingo in the last few moments, even running up to this match.
I think they've played like 10 matches against each other in the past 24 hours at this point. It's insane.
Yeah,
maybe not with Bane. I can't remember. They went on a wild adventure last night. It's going to be good to see them in action.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this match plays out. It's going to be a clash of the titans, really. We have, Yomsa versus 7th Base, two of the most experienced and successful bingo players. And then we have some of the new kids on the block as well. We've got Vane and Kev. And let's take a look at the board, shall we? For this, the first game of the match.
So let's get my trusty Regex viewer out.
Do you really need Regex for this one?
I mean,
let's have a look at that column 1. Let's have a look at that.
That first Regex.
Row 1, the column 2.
Show. Yeah. Got Dogen, Shibuya, Hikage on that row 1. Got Dogen, Hikage on column 2. Everyone loves Dogen 100% Graffiti. I am everyone.
I like Dogen Graffiti. I don't know how strategically strong it is, but it's a very difficult route to mess up, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean,
it's interesting. Oh, yeah, but how about this? Top left to bottom right. Look at that Kogani show. And that row 5 as well.
They actually
There's
sent me
a
this
lot
board
of bingos.
Ahead of time, and I immediately identified the top left to bottom right as the kind of standout play here. But this is kind of a board where you could do a lot of anything and still come away successfully. This is very much a board with no ideal optimal opening play, because every time you look at the fast souls, you've got Hikage, Cubby, and Air 4 on the same column. That's great. Dogen Graffiti, Catwalk near Cube, immediately slow down that bingo. You've got Dogen, Shibuya, Hikage on the row 1. Dogen Graffiti immediately slows that one down. The top left to bottom right is maybe the strongest in terms of how quick each of those individual souls are. But even then, you've got a Dogen Grind, which is quick if you co-op it, I suppose, but not necessarily incredibly fast off the break. Catwalk near Cube is a decent commitment. Hero Under Tower is a pretty significant commitment. So there's nothing that's super outstanding in terms of early bingos, and I think it's just going to be who gets the strongest start, whatever that start is, determining the pace of this game and running with that into the mid-game. But there's, I think, a lot of possibility for a mid-game comeback, which is something we've seen for the Blazor Stans a couple of times in their matches of having really good decision-making and coming back after a rough start in the early game.
Right, yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily have to go for some of these bingos, but if you turn them, that's just as good.
Yeah, I think some teams are really focused in on getting those bingos, and some teams are more willing to bait them and try and force their opponents into doing suboptimal plays. And though there's nothing on this board that really stands out to me as incredibly super fast, outside of a couple of the defaults and Shibuya Souls, there's not also any outstanding, completely horrendous things. We've got 4 graffitis on this board, all 4 of them are quick, and there are none of the egregious super specials kind of souls on this board. Really the longest ones I'm looking at are Catwalk near Cube, where you have to do a half a lap or a whole lap of bottom point. You got some things that take you out to areas like Sky Dino and Highway 0, which puts you out far on the map, but individually they're not too difficult to pick up once you're in those levels. So everything's kind of a middle ground.
Yeah, and let's not forget, we've got 4 graffitis on this board, all of the quickest ones, I believe, except maybe Shibuya, but I think Dogen is just a bit nicer.
Yeah, I mean, you swap Dogen for Shibuya here, and that is the 4 fastest graffitis on possible.
And they're off.
Interesting. All right, we're off, and I'm very curious to see what the starting play is here, because like I said, I don't think there's a particularly optimal play. Double Shibuya then for BunDig, as Kev goes out to Shibuya to match them and has to be careful what he chooses here. It's going to be Vayne.
Well, it's double Shibuya Cho for BunDig. Let's keep in mind we've got Vayne going into Dogen, which
Ace is uncontested into Kogane, which is pretty strong. In the early game, nothing super outstanding outside of Rith. Rith is very, very quick, but then you've got the Sewers default, and then maybe if you're just uncontested, you can clear out Kogane and pick up a lot of points. Very early graffiti here for Vayne into Dogen, and maybe this row 1 bingo becomes more viable if you just rushed this, but I'm not a fan of opening with graffiti, even on a board, in fact, especially on a board with 4 graffitis.
I mean, Kev's been sniped to points 100k, so that's going to kind of really sort out the early game. Sniped to grind 10 as well. Very unfortunate, Kev. I mean, I think out of all the players, Joms is the last person you want to have to go against in Shibuya, except maybe Ryomi if you're scared of such emulator power.
Yeah, I think sending perhaps Kev into Shibuya was a gambit from Blazor Stans. I think you can kind of try and read the board and say, maybe it's really obvious for BunDig to go for Shibuya early so that they won't do it, right? And then Kev has a bit of an easier time. But in this game of 4D chess, BunDig come out on top with the early game. And that almost justifies the early Dogen graffiti for me. If you can get board control by virtue of sniping someone elsewhere on the map, then this early graffiti could still work out. Ace picks up their first soul, their first square of the game with the Sewers default. Actually didn't pick up Riff. I think they worked towards it and then didn't lock it in. I think I saw them around in RDH. I'm not sure what the exact play was there.
I'm wondering if this is one of those situations where Ace is reactively trying to put out some potential fires before they kind of flare up too much. I mean, we've got a big problem here with Kev in Dogen, unless Vayne has a major skill issue with routing. Kev is so far behind, does not appear to be too confident with the routing as well, which is not great. You do not want to be indecisive when you're going through Dogen. You want to get all the cans, you want to get all the sprays.
Yes. This is a difficult situation for Kev to be in, just not really reading where Vayne is because Vayne hasn't marked anything. It's a hard prediction because there are 4 graffitis on the board, so you're saying, okay, if Vayne is doing a graffiti and didn't just get sniped to everything early, which is very possible given that Blazor Stans haven't marked a single, or have only marked a single square, then you can safely make the prediction that, yeah, probably Vayne is doing an early graffiti. Which one? You know, all 4 of them are viable, and Kev unfortunately makes the wrong pick and is likely to just lose out to this Dogen graffiti whilst also having to commit to a lap. Meanwhile, Ace is in FRZ, and strategically, you know, you've got the points and special in this area. It works towards denying some of the board control that BunDig are trying to establish, but not everything. There's still a lot more work for Ace to do. Yeah. Oh, and falls on the way to the soul. That's going to slow them down just a little bit.
It's Dogen locked in, so I'm expecting Kev to move along. Oh, grabbing the tape. I'm not sure if it's really worth going for at this point. You maybe just have to cut your losses. Because you've got to imagine, you know, Vayne's marked. Yeah.
You got to go to 99th, I think.
Yeah, you got to block the bingo.
You know that Vayne is here. You know that the realistic play here is for Vayne to go for the Dogen grind.
Yeah. You've got to just go to like War Ride. The amount of points
Kev's trying to unlock it.
Kev, no, leave, get out of here.
I can see the logic here. Right? Where the obvious, or perhaps the more straightforward play for Vayne is to go Dogen grind. So Kev is reading that and saying he's going to go 99th instead. And so instead of getting sniped to 99th, I'm going to commit to Dogen and get grind.
I have to disagree.
But he's about to find out that he's going to get sniped to this as well.
It is the most obvious thing for BunDig to do to get grind 10 for 2 reasons. One, it blocks that potential that Ace turns at anything in Kogane Cho right now. And also, it really spills towards that bingo. Yomsa going into 99. I mean, she's kind of been a bit hidden for a while, so she's going to come out, really grab that, get that bingo.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. which bumps our points
was-
to win to 18. But BunDig already on 13 with Blazor Stans only on 3.
Yeah, Ryomi makes a point here, and I kind of talked about it in the pre-game. Some teams like to set up bingos and threaten them. Some teams just like to lock them in, and BunDig is very much a team that likes to lock those bingos in when they get the opportunity. Very reminiscent of Team Fortress from Season 3. Just go for the jugular right from the beginning and close the game out before your opponent even has a chance to react.
Yeah, I mean, there's one really strong thing you can do against BunDig, which, if you can pull it off, it really helps. It's just get that early board control, try and build up as much of a diagonal as possible, block as many of the different columns and rows, just prevent any bingo threats while also getting the fastest squares possible. Because you can sometimes make BunDig lose that precious time going for that bingo. As long as you can get the squares and prevent those from being a threat, you may just be able to come out on top. Unfortunately, that early game with Kev v Yomsa really just put them on the back foot, and then Kev going into the same level as Vayne after Vayne already really started on Graffiti. It's one of those things where you never know these things when you're in the middle of a match, but from our eye in the sky, it was just tragic. Kev was being sent from fire to fire.
Yeah, it's really an unfortunate start to the game for Kev, and yeah, as you said, there are ways to beat this very, very aggressive strategy from BunDig, and we've seen it. However, it's very difficult to fight back from this position when literally everything has gone exactly how BunDig wanted it to go, and Kev has just been chasing shadows around the board this entire game so far. It's really difficult.
Oh, jeez. You see what I'm seeing? It's a race to Kev, what are you doing? There we go, that's platform on the first swing.
This is realistically a double bingo threat right now, unless Vayne wants to commit to the graffiti. Going for the
is Vayne going for the setup? Hit it? Classic.
That's clean. That's very clean. Well done by Vayne. Vayne's out, and that means ahead to the Highway 0 to lock in the column 5 bingo. Kev desperately trying to get some points on the board here with a Dino Graffiti, but board control is just way out of control at this point for Blazor Stans. They need to just hope and pray, I think, that graffitis are enough to get them back in this, but I think losing the second bingo will all but close this game out.
This second bingo, it's one square to win it. If Yomsa just goes for grind 50, which I imagine she's going for right now, it's all over. As the kids say, it is all Jova.
Well, Ace has got this one, I believe, just about ahead of Yomsa. So that's a snipe, but nonetheless, the bingo is locked in.
Yomsa fumbles a bit on her way out, but Ace won't know that Yomsa's here. Really, you really just got to play some psychic game and just know exactly what everyone's doing. Really, best thing Blazor Stans can do is open up the stream right now and get busted for cheating after the match.
Yeah, I mean, the way that this early game went was the complete nightmare, right? Like, getting sniped to literally everything and then going into a level where your other opponent is and getting sniped there, and then getting sniped to Dogen grind. And like, Kev has just not been able to play the game.
Yeah, I mean,
has Kev marked a square? I don't think Kev has marked a square.
So looking at all of the squares that Blazor Stans have right now, I am looking at Kogani's squares. So I think that answers our question. Meanwhile, we've got Vayne uncontested in Highway 0 Graffiti. Yomsa going for Undertower, trying to get that mathematical completion of the board. And there we go. 19 points.
Game 1. Locked in 9.5 minutes on the count for game 1. BunDig with complete devastation.
That was absolutely vicious. But you know what? I have seen one thing from Blazor Stans, considering they've recently played a match. They do a lot better game too.
That is true. If there's a team that kind of grows into a series, I think it's definitely Blazor Stans, and this one is a game that you can just write up to getting sniped. You know, there's a lot of depth to bingo, but sometimes you just get sniped and you lose the game. And this was one of those games. And with the way that BunDig play the game, we see this, I think, more often from not only BunDig, but Yomsa teams in general. She plays very aggressively and she plays to win as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
That means you're going to end up with some blowouts like this, but then sometimes you end up with very, very closely contested games when that initial early game plan from BunDig doesn't quite work out and they have to adjust on the fly. That's where you can get them. And if there's a team that can do that, I think it's Blazor Stans led by Ace with the strategy.
Yeah. I think teams that are still yet to play against BunDig, take notes. There is a path to victory, but you've really got to hunt for it.
Yeah, they force you to play as aggressively as they play, I think is the interesting thing about them. Yeah,
I mean, I think Yomsa
have to fight them.
Yomsa in a previous season famously said, if you play defensively, you're trying to lose as minimally as possible. And that is very much the mindset that Yomsa teams always seem to go for, is you don't play to lose as minimally as possible, you play to win.
Yeah,
everything
right.
Be damned. You go for as many squares as possible, as fast as possible.
Yeah, and we see that exhibited here in quite literally a speed run of game one. Yeah, I mean, there's very little I think you can do from that position, losing that early row one bingo with the graffiti on it. Kev would have had to make some really good predictions, is the thing, right? The early Dogen graffiti, I was critical of it initially, but the way that BunDig distributed their players across the board versus how Blazor Stans did, let's go, Gigabacker. The way that BunDig used their resources in the early game worked out in that early Dogen gambit. Because if they don't get that bingo and they don't, if they don't get that early board control, I think the Dogen graffiti is less powerful when there are 4 graffitis on the board, but it worked. And that's the high risk, high reward style that we know of BunDig. All right then, board number 2 for game number 2. What do we have this time around?
Okay, well, my initial read of this board, a lot of stuff in Shibuya, like column 3, interesting, but with Churro Special with the center square kind of puts a spanner in the works for anyone that wants to go for any of the core bingos, really. I wonder if there's anything that's surrounding it. Row 2?
I love it when the center square is just awful.
I hate it. It means diagonals are an absolute pain in the neck. Diagonals are so much fun.
I think it makes rushing bingos early very difficult when the center square is as annoying as something like Churro Special. But we do have some pretty good early game stuff once again. We've got Shibuya Tricks and Grind on that column 3, plus Hikage Crane, so a lot of Shibuya game, early game stuff as is very frequent in JSRF bingo. On top of Bus and Air 3 in Shibuya as well on the column 1. All sorts of options based off of the distribution of the early Shibuya Cho squares, so I would expect to see a lot of people into Shibuya Cho early here, if not everyone. And it's going to be, by the looks of it, 3 of them into Shibuya Terminal while Kev goes off to Vented.
It's what you want to see, really. All things to 2 in 99th, SDPP entrance pillar, Skydive on top T-Rex, a bunch of quick ones. If Kev can just... Ooh, which one are they going for first? Because this will be telling on what their overall strategy is. Ace going for the boost,
and Ace right now,
which is going to be good because that allows for... But
they're both racing to Air 3, and it's going to be Vayne ever so slightly out ahead here. And it's kind of a coin flip in those situations. And the tape co-op means that Yomsa can pick up Grind as well. So 3 points on the board for BunDig early here. Ace will be able to get Tricks 25 as a consolation prize, but immediately Yomsa is out of Shibuya Cho and into Kogane, and Vayne will get sniped to this one, just barely. So Ace gets something out of this situation and may get out ahead to either Hikage or Chuo, but Vayne might just be leaving. Interesting. So what's the angle here for BunDig? Are they going to go straight for a bingo again? As we see
interesting play from Kev, because going for Air 4, I mean, you know, very solid square. Just wondering... Oh no, Kev! So that light wall ride's kind of been left alone. 7 cans. Kev's stuck. Kev needs to get out.
He's going to have to hook it.
I never want to go for that with just 10 cans, because you miss it once, it is all Jova. It's going to give Vayne the advantage getting out of Dark Side. I'm surprised not going for Light Wall Ride. What is the assumption here?
Light Wall Ride is a bit of a time consumption, I think, with
it is, but it's a freebie.
Strategic strength. I think there's more power in other things like Entrance Pillar and the Sky Dino default, for example, right now.
But even with the
pillar on the diagonal, which looks like Kev will get.
Yep, Kev's got it. Oh
That's
my god, Kev!
Strong square.
Strategically less
out
strong.
on that, but will go to Dino.
This could have been worse. I mean, this does give Vayne an advantage going into Dino. Kev is just having a very upsetting time in Ben 10 show, unfortunately. With 4 squares left, really, do we want to be seeing more of that? Do we want to be seeing more of different levels? Going head to head. I guess
square in Dino, Kev behind, but doesn't necessarily know where Vayne is because Vayne didn't pick up Light Wall Ride, so kind of obfuscates his position. Gets sniped to Entrance Pillar, which I think he was expecting anyway, given that Kev revealed where he was on the board, but Vayne's still getting
Vayne misses it.
Ooh, this could give Kev the shot. Back at it.
Oh my god, Kev!
No, Kev misses it as well. He can recover this quickly if he can jump onto the tail. He doesn't know the backup. What's the play here then? Vayne misses it again.
Oh my god.
Kev turns around and should still be able to get this.
Got on the tail. Vayne falling all the way down to where the Bermuda Triangle is. Kev
doesn't know about the tail.
The tail. Oh my god. Has Kev learned this level from Alice New?
Vayne's committing. Vayne is committing to getting this.
Oh my god.
This is some gameplay that we're experiencing right now. It looks like Vayne will get this then.
There we go. Vayne's got it. God, can we replace the mixtape with circus music? Jesus Christ!
That was
the tail is a rail. Why do people not know this? Alice was shocked when she found out that the tail was a rail. I don't get it.
Well, Vayne's going for the cool out of map death warp, so that's.
We call it the cool out of map death warp. It's free. It is new tech this season, and it is free as hell. If you don't know it, Bingo players, learn it now.
Okay, so right now we have a race between Yomsa and 7th Ace in Kibo. Yomsa has already stall launched. Let's see if Ace can keep up or catch up.
Ace on emulator creates some slight issues compared to the two of them.
And there's a lot of points in Kibo right now. 5 points in Kibo. This game has been relatively even, all things considered, but this could break it wide open.
Unless Ace can get the pylon warp here, no. It's going to be a real rush. It's 2 souls. Ace might be able to catch him and grab one of them. No, that's always an option. We've got Kev in 99th Street. My assumption would be going for Light Wall Ride. Meanwhile, Vayne all the way deep into Highway 0 going for Crime 15. So this may lead into some decision making for the Blazor Stans. Right now the points are quite neck and neck, and as we've said before, if you can just avoid that quick sweep, life's good.
Yeah, Blazor Stans stalling this game out, not getting completely blasted in the early game, I think suits them. I don't think they're ever realistically going to expect to take the lead early game, but we'll still be able to... Okay.
Stop trying to jump over the cat. My years of experience in this game are being attacked right now, watching Kev try and jump over invisible walls.
Yes, well, not everyone has played this game as much as you.
Tragic, really. But
yeah, I think Blazor Stans not getting completely blasted in the early game, having some angle to work with in the middle game, suits them. But the situation that Ace is in behind in Kibo to Yomsa is really, really difficult to work with, especially when you look at the squares. It is tricks and it's grind. You have to try and guess correctly. Ace does guess
Kibo
correctly.
For Kibo?
as Yomsa goes for tricks first, Ace goes for grind first, and the two of them are now even. I don't think either of them have really been working on the graffiti. We see Yomsa
Yomsa getting a cheeky spray in.
Yeah, just a couple here, which honestly could save some time, because if you can get these ones in this section here, you can just still launch past them later. She does miss one, and she doesn't go for the one down below, because still momentum is the key, right? This graffiti square isn't pivotal right now. There's still time to get out elsewhere on the board and pick up some more important souls. FRZ grind, bottom point default still in Kagane Joe. We'll see who goes where, with Ace leaving Kibo first and going over to FRZ. Where does Yomsa go? If she reads this correctly and goes to bottom point, they could be threatening a potential row 1 bingo, though it's not sensational.
Neither player going for Jazz, or neither team going for Jazz, which is interesting, because Jazz is the biggest threat, I think. If BunDig got Jazz, right, Kibo is a threat. It's very obvious they're not going to go for Kibo at this stage in the game, but still, you're stressing knowing that Kibo is a one shot, one kill, essentially, for the rest of the board. Meanwhile,
the way I see it right now,
that's good.
I think the maths is being done right now by 7th Ace. This is something that I see for them, like, realizing their win conditions. They are going to pick up exactly as many squares as they need, and then go to Kibo to clinch the game. That's their play.
Jazz.
They have no bingos. They have, they need the Kibo graffiti, I think, to be the big point swing, and they're going to work towards having as many points as possible leading into Kibo to get that win there. But that requires Kev to block any potential bingos from BunDig to make that a viable avenue. They pick up Chuo, so there's Chuo special, but really, you're right, Jazz is really important here, and nobody's focusing on it yet. I wonder if this will be Yomsa going for it. Oh, Kev is getting Chuo canalsed again. Never mind.
Let's try. Okay, Kev learned
like one of the hardest jumps in the game, by the way.
It is. That's the most impressive thing I've seen in this game. Forget any other strats. Yomsa's heading to Stadium, I imagine. There's no way, no how. She knows that, special is available.
Yeah, they need to lock in this bingo, and Yomsa is ahead to Jazz. Realistically, I can't see a way for Blazor Stans to stop this bingo getting locked in. But right now, Ace needs to be in Kibo, because that's their win condition. They need to get this graffiti locked in.
Kev's going for special.
Yeah, this is
for
Kev.
They need 2 souls, I think, if I'm reading this correct. Kev needs to get 2 squares, Ace needs to get 1 square, and they can win this, even with the bingo.
It requires Kev to make the right calls at the right time.
And right now that call's not being made. Kev needs to rush Dogan. This is a question of if Blazor Stans sees this win condition and can see past the bingo threat. Because if they can see past the bingo threat, if Kev goes to points 50k, Chuo special, already got a good of the way there. It's possible. It is doable.
He's out ahead of Vayne just barely. It's going to be down to movement between the 2 newer players.
See, I'm wondering what the plan is for Yomsa and Vayne. Are they going to be blinded by the double bingo potential? Because this is scary for so many reasons. Ace is mid graffiti route. Ace is a very capable player, very capable in strats. It's something that Ace would normally see, but I think Ace is just so busy, focused on getting this done, that Vayne is in Dogan.
Kev,
It looks like the win condition has been visualized by BunDig. And they're just going for Dogan.
Yep, they just need just a raw amount of squares, I think. Jazz will be locked in. Bingo locked in. 1 square to win. Kev left to go to Jazz instead of locking in Dogan points. Can't make the read in time and has ended up chasing shadows again. So Vayne ahead into Dogan, should be able to lock this one in for the win. This would take some kind of miracle, I think, for Blazor Stans.
I mean, this is one of those classics, right? Ace kind of completely blind by having to do the graffiti route, unfortunately. trying to guide Kev. Kev's wasn't able to see it in time. This is a situation where Vane's got the tape. Kev's only on the way to the tape. 50k is all that's needed. And it looks like Yomsa Vane are just rushing it. I am kind of upset that Jazz wasn't focused because it's a long square, but you had to do it to block both of those bingos.
Yeah, I think there were viable times for Kev in particular being in Benton to just get that threat out of the way. And it
given the time for Jazz and the time to get Light Wall Ride, obviously it takes a bit longer to get to Jazz, but the value of that one square was so much more.
Yeah, in this particular context. And that's the thing about bingo, right, is there's a lot of variables into what makes a play good. There is the, raw value of the square in terms of where it is on the board compared to current bingo threats. There is, the point value of the board, of the square in consideration of graffiti. There is how quick and easy it is to get, but that is variable based on where you are and also your own personal experience and preference as a player. Balancing those variables is very difficult.
I'm going to vomit.
This is the smartest play, I think, for Blazor Stans because, for BunDig, because they know that they can win from this position. This is the safest play, which is, it's not as aggressive perhaps as BunDig have played in the past, but doing it this way and going into Chuo to co-op the special unlock, whilst also having Dogan tape for points, gives them the most opportunities.
And really, we're going to see Yomsa and Vane co-op special.
We do love a bit of co-op though.
Yeah, it's always a fun time.
I mean, Vane could fail this unlock. I mean, we love our hypotheticals. Vane could fail this unlock 16 times.
Yeah.
And then,
Vane just doesn't know. Does he know? But there we go, that's the unlock. Yomsa's just kind of standing there. Hello? There it is.
There it is.
There we go, GG.
Go special. Center square clinches the game 15-11 for BunDig, the 2-0 sweep.
That second game though was close. It was just that one unfortunate circumstance leading to that bingo. If it wasn't for that bingo, would have been a much nicer board, I think.
Yeah, I think the pivot this game from Blazor Stans, based on how game one played out, I think was the right strategic play. There was just a little bit of execution in the moment that was a little bit of a letdown for them. But yeah, not as much of a blowout as game one. They lasted a lot longer. We have Ace and Kev.
That is the most...
How's it going, guys?
I've ever heard.
I'm gonna cry.
I mean, it sucks. I'm not gonna lay it on thin here. It sucks to lose. We're 0-6. Feels great. I mean, game one felt like a giant kick in the teeth. And game two, I didn't make great calls and we got blown out. It doesn't feel great. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. There's not really much that you can talk about for game one, right? It was very much, we got sniped and then we lost.
Yeah.
So we sweep that one under the rug. Game two, though, you pivoted your strategy. It was another board similar to the first, where Shibuya early squares could be very important. And you pivoted slightly by sending yourself into Shibuya instead of Kev, and letting Kev take control of Benton Show. And we talked about you kind of growing into the series a little bit and adapting from game to game as being one of your strengths. So yeah, how do you kind of recover from that game one and come into game two?
Go again. Bingo games are very short. Roll back. Have a short memory on it. Really, Benton looked pretty good. I think my biggest mistake was going Hikage Crane and not trying to get the better squares out in Kogane sooner. Yomsa got an absolute feast before I really got out there, and I was behind to a lot of them, which, tough to read in the first 20 seconds when they're both going double Shibuya. Did Vane get sniped to or Hikage Crane though?
I did not go Hikage.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, something I kind of noticed from BunDig, and actually, yeah, just to finish this point, it was very much a just GG go next from game one. You know, there's not much you can take out of it. Just try and
don't get sniped forehead. Like,
yeah, I mean, but yeah, something I noticed from BunDig was you were very good at withholding information from your opponents. The early Dogen graffiti in game one, I was critical of initially. But with 4 graffitis on the board, I thought maybe you don't need to prioritize it as much. But similarly, because there's 4 graffitis on the board, and Vane's not marking a square early into the game, you force Blazor Stans to guess which of those 4 graffitis Vane is doing, because all 4 of them were fast. And I thought that was actually a stroke of genius. Thank you, Vane.
I mean, we didn't even think that deep into it.
Yeah.
I think Vane just likes Dogen graffiti, so he went there.
motherfucking Krabby response up in this house.
Yeah. That's the bingo classic of strategy being 100 layers deep, and sometimes teams only operate on that first layer. But in the moment, in the game, you have to try and figure out what level your opponent is operating on, and there's just so much going on that you can't always make the right calls, and then you end up with blowout games like game one. But, you know, in the end, this was a 1-point board in game 2, and realistically, I mean, AceBats identified that if you flip the Jazz square, this is a very different game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I can't say I'm going nuts.
I was just going to say, I think the big tragedy was just that moment. And, I mean, it's one of those where it's easy to look back on it and say, but when it was, I think, Vane all the way deep into Grind 15 over at Highway 0, and you had Kev on like Wall Ride, that Stadium Jazz was there for anyone to take. And it was just unfortunate that wasn't, you know, grabbed on the way out.
Yeah, don't check my comms where I said don't worry about Jazz. I've got the column 1 block.
Classic.
Column 1 block, not row 1, because I didn't see it. When I went to FRZ and Yamsa marked bottom point, it did not click that row 1 existed. It just, you pick squares for a reason. You mark your squares for a reason. And maybe it was after game 1 where we were upset and whatnot.
Yeah. So for any teams going up against BunDig in the future, lock down any potential bingos first and then get every other square.
Yeah, well, as we said, bingo strategy goes very, very deep. But nonetheless, the game was played, and we have a lot more bingo coming up this week, as we do have Rollerblades playing their postponed match against the Unwantables, I believe, and that's on Thursday. But before then, we also have Rollerblades playing against the Hype Beasts on Wednesday. So we have that one extra bonus match this week, as well as, I believe it is Nyakaza playing someone this week.
Is it?
Did you have
I
last
need
week?
to try and remember.
Hold on.
We had round 3
versus Nyakaza.
Oh,
Yeah, so we have Unwantables and Nyakaza playing, which means Unwantables and Rollerblades are playing twice this week. So a very intense bingo schedule. Some of those matches have been scheduled, some of them are yet to be scheduled, but as always, you can go to our Discord and find out the up to the minute scheduling. And also you can go to our Ko-fi and give us money.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching Bingo, and we will see you soon for the next Bingo.
See ya.
Coming soon. See ya.